Welcome guys and girls to this Age of Empires 4 video, and today we're doing the Abbasid dynasty Fast Castle build, and it's kind of a guide as well. We're going to talk about when to use this build order and when not to perhaps, and we're going to get to the castle age within about 9 minutes or so, and we're going to have a triple stable lancer production. So it's going to be super fast to get those lancers out, gives us lots of mobility. It's perfect unit for raiding the opponent's economy. We're going to be going straight forward with those lancers to kill as many villagers as possible. And then we've got some options as to whether we kind of macro and add a second TC behind that, or whether we go for just full all-in aggression. But looking at the build, so the first thing I like to do with this build is actually build a scout, or trainer scout rather, from the town center as the first thing we do. So we're going for 2 scouts to get as many sheep as possible. And this just means we don't run out of food, and we've got plenty of food to get to that fast castle. And also it can deny your opponent from getting sheep as well, especially if they're the French or if they're the Rus in particular, you want that second scout. And what we'll do then is send the first 6 villagers to go to berries, build a mill, and then the next villager from the town centre will go to build a house and then go to gold. And then we're going to get the next 3 villagers to go to wood. So that's the first 6 villagers to berries, and then 1 to build a house, and then gold, and then 3 to go to wood. So as you can see, we've got our scouts running around, finding as many sheep as possible, which is perfect. We want to bring as many of those back home. And I feel like with this build, it's going to be strong, especially against the French. Now, you might be thinking, well, what do I do about early pressure? It's going to be 9 minutes until you get castle age. Well, we're going to drop 2 outposts. That's actually more than enough. And a lot of spawns, like map generations, you won't even need like 2 outposts. 1 should be fine. But we're going to prioritize getting an outpost on the gold and making sure that the wood line is safe as well, because the berries will actually all be finished pretty much by the time your opponent is kind of ready to attack. So I wouldn't really worry about the berries because they will all be taken up. And as you can see now, we've got 3 villagers on wood, so we're going to send the next 4 villagers to go to gold to make 5 in total. And that's really very much on purpose, because when we do drop an outpost on the gold, you can garrison up to 5 villagers in the gold area to that outpost, and that just means it's, you don't want to have 1 villager that's kind of prone to be sniped by your opponent. Alright, so just to remind you guys that if you have access to the PDF build orders already, that will be there updated for you, and if you're interested in getting your hands on them, do check out the video description, have some information on how you can do that. But yeah, I mean, the build so far, as soon as you get up to about 50 wood or so, you can drop that House of Wisdom. We're a little bit late to that in this particular demonstration, but it's not the end of the world as long as you get it relatively quickly. As soon as you're hitting the 400 food, 200 gold, you should be ready to get up to the next stage. Alright, so we're going to get about 5 villagers on gold, and as soon as we do that, then we can start rallying our town centre villagers to go to food. So we found our opponent, getting as many sheep as possible, and getting ready to click up to the feudal age. Now, we will be going up to the feudal age with the economic wing, and then getting fresh foodstuffs as soon as we hit feudal age, and that will of course reduce the cost of our villagers drastically, and obviously we can use that spare food over to count towards the tally to get up to the castle age. And once you do get 5 on gold now, as you can see, we're just going to rally our villagers to come up from the town centre to go to berries. And we're just going to keep getting villagers to go to berries, essentially until we get up to the castle age target, which is 1,200 food and 600 gold. Okay, we're just going to start building some outposts as well. We're going to protect the wood line first, and then just because that's what's furthest forward, and then we're going to be protecting that gold mine as well. Obviously, we can't afford that second outpost just yet, but we will. And we'll need to build a house using a gold villager just to make sure we don't get population capped. And so at this point, you want to bring your sheep back home to your town centre and then look to scout your opponent, see what they're going for. Are you going to be worried about early aggression? In terms of going up against the English, I'd probably say maybe just skip the 2 outposts and actually start looking to get horsemen in earlier. That will delay your castle time a little bit. But what you can do is, once you've hit feudal age, if you think you need horsemen, it's important to keep scouting. Just check that longbowman rush is coming or not, and if it is, then you can actually think about taking 2 villagers off of gold and putting them to food. And you're going to be dropping that stable in feudal age anyway, and then you can start pumping those horsemen. Basically, the aim is to get enough horsemen such that your opponent isn't able to push you, and you can push them back and delay them, like they're pushed just a bit. And then as soon as you get up to castle age, obviously your lancers from then on will pretty much wreck everything. So the key is just to survive until castle age, which is pretty doable, with a combination of outposts or horsemen if you're up against the English. So as you can see, we're getting more villagers to go to food, and we're keeping our scouts active. And yeah, it's just a matter of time now until we reach feudal age. When we do hit feudal age, click fresh foodstuffs immediately. And then thinking a little bit further into the game, we'll be going for the culture wing when we want to go up to the castle age, and we'll be getting preservation of knowledge. And then yeah, once we hit castle age, we'll be dropping those 3 stables and a blacksmith, by the way, and we'll be getting lots and lots of lancers there. Alright, so guys, don't forget, if you do enjoy the build orders, do give the video a thumbs up. It lets me know that you enjoy them, and hopefully I'll keep up with them and keep updating the previous ones that I have, but also think about new ones as the strategies develop in Age of Empires 4. We're also now, as you can see, going to drop down our second outpost of the game just to protect that gold, and the good thing is that gold is pretty far behind in the back of our base, but if it's forward, you know, you've got your outpost there anyway. And as you can see, we're chewing through those berries. I will actually start to get some villagers to go to food. Instead of the berries, go to the sheep there, because the berries are almost expiring, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be using that all up before any aggression comes in anyway. And yeah, so we're going to slowly get to our target, and once we do, we'll go up to the next age. So I think this build order could be really useful on closed maps in particular, but especially if your opponent hasn't scouted what you're doing. You know, if they're going in blind, which they really shouldn't, but you know, sometimes they can assume that you're going for a 2-town center boom, which is quite commonly done with the Abbasid dynasty, but obviously they shouldn't really be assuming anyway. So be careful. Often, you know, if they spot this, they might actually know you're being aggressive. And think about future strategies. Obviously going for lots of lancers, the natural progression for your opponent is to go for crossbows. They can go for spears, but I think if they go for spears, to be honest with you, you can usually just out-mobilize them and just keep running around. So if they go for spears, it's not, you know, you should be able to hopefully manage around that. Especially if you use the charge attack and you know, make sure to take cost-effective fights. So as you can see, the berries have run out and they just all go back to the sheep that you've collected. And yeah, if they do go for crossbows, then you've obviously got 3 stables, so you can then transition to get into horsemen and add in some archers behind that as you would want. And also, I mean, if you feel like you've done quite a lot of damage with your lancers, you know, don't feel afraid to go for some stone and get a second town center. So as you can see, we're almost up to the castle age. We're going to click that culture wing now, and what we'll do now is start getting new villagers from the town center to go to gold. We're aiming to get 15 on gold in total. And once we have clicked up to the castle age, we're going to take 10 villagers from the food underneath the town center to go to wood, and we're going to start building our stables. We're going to go for 3 stables in total, and as you can see now, the new villagers from the town center go into gold. So macro wise, in terms of when you do get up to castle age, essentially these wood villagers, you'll be taking most of them off of wood back to food, but we're going to be doing that only after we've got enough wood to place down 3 stables and a blacksmith and a house. So you'll see us do that when we get to the castle age. You know, when we get those building foundations down, we're actually going to be taking those villagers off of wood back to food. We're going to leave about 4 villagers on wood remaining, so that they can have some wood income as time goes on. Okay, so second stable going down. Now, as you can see that, you know, this is kind of the time where you might be being pushed by the English. You know, they might already been pushing already, to be honest. So you can start to focus on getting horsemen out if you feel like you're under pressure, if you're up against the English. But, you know, we're going to be going for that fast castle. If you're going to be surviving until now, hopefully the English won't be pushing you too hard. Sometimes, depending on the map generation, you can wall small segments off between wood lines if there's any that are, you know, clear to do. But yeah, getting some early horsemen could be pretty useful for fighting off the English longbows. As well, you should be reaching golden age tier 1 as well at this kind of point. You should have enough building foundations down, make sure they're all connected. And yeah, we're going to be getting up to the castle age. And as you can see, 3 stables are down now, and we're dropping that blacksmith for upgrades. And now we're going to take those villagers off of wood to go back to food, leaving 3 in total. And we're going to be using that builder villager, the builder on the blacksmith, going back to wood. So as you can see, we've queued up knights already from 3 of these stables. We're getting preservation of knowledge from the House of Wisdom. And then once the preservation of knowledge kicks in, once we've got the blacksmith up and running, we can look to get iron under mesh as a start, because obviously we're going to be raiding with the lancers. But yeah, just see what upgrades you really need, and then from there on you can look to just constantly produce knights. I wouldn't really go for any other economy upgrades just yet. You want to kind of make the most of your early castle age and get as many knights on the field as possible. And don't forget to build some houses. And once you do feel like your economy can establish it, then start to get, you know, your wheelbarrow from the mill, start to get your double broadaxe from the lumber camp as well, of course. And we will need to start making a slow transition with our food villagers to a second berry patch, or maybe the deer, whichever food resource you have around you. And as you can see, we've got 3 lancers there going forward to harass your opponent. I'd really target the gold and also the wood line. Usually those are the most exposed areas, but whatever you can find, just pick off those villagers. And behind this, think about adding maybe an archery range, or even thinking about getting a second town center. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this build order tutorial, and if you did, do give the video a thumbs up. Hopefully I shall see you guys on another build order guide, or maybe join in for a live stream when I'm playing some ranked ladder games. Take care, and see you next time.